Bangladesh, a country known to the rest of the world mainly because of its problems. Poverty, overpopulation, and in particular frequent heavy rains and disastrous floods. Regardless of the sheer size of the problems and perennially chaotic circumstances, there are people here who are committed to tackle those problems and work successfully in their respective fields. People who develop their very own way to deal with the local consequences of global climate change. I have found them here in the northwestern part of Bangladesh, in the region around the city of Rajshahi, located on the western shore of the Gangetic Delta. At Rajshahi University, I meet Gholam Sattar, professor for hydrogeology at the Faculty of Geology and Mining. Beside his academic duties and scientific work, he is actively involved in local politics. He has initiated local projects, which he runs using his team, and recently he has been appointed as the environmental advisor to the mayor of Rajshahi city.
The Bangladesh is very popularly known to the international people as a flood country because most of the year we do have severe flood in the southern portion, and sometimes due to the geographical location of Bangladesh and the geomorphological condition, the southern region mostly affected cyclone, tornadoes and some other calamity which actually inundated the area. But if you take the other side, the northwestern region where it's standing now, the Rajshahi, it is the northwestern part of the Bangladesh, okay? And geomorphologically and the climatologically, this area is recognized as a dry land because we do have less rainfall, that is the precipitation, than the other part of the country. As for example, the country's average rainfall is more than 2,000 millimeter per year, but here we on an average receive 1,200 to 1,300 millimeter. And we have seen since last 3 or 4 years, and presumably the our honorable mayor, he told you that since last 2 years we are even not receiving that amount of rainfall. So this region is basically, if you visit the northwestern region of Bangladesh, you'll have to see the drought part, as the dry part of the country.
Professor Sattar leads me to the dike that had been constructed some 150 years back by the British to protect the city of Rajshahi from the waters of River Padma, the Bengali name for the Ganges. Today we find settlers behind the dike because water has almost disappeared from the higher parts of the riverbed. After 1974, when India constructed the Farakka Dam upstream, the river flows have changed significantly, and the main riverbed has moved several kilometers east. Today, the former main riverbed at Rajshahi carries water only during monsoon.
Yes, I remember my old days when I was school boys. That time the river was full and the bank was permanent. And that time we come to collect the bird's egg, it's a very small tiny one, and we started to swim, and even we go for the river cruise this time. And that time I remember this river Padma is also used as one of the important waterway to transport the cargo. So many people, they live their life with the boat, so they lost their job and they have changed their occupation as well. Yeah. So it's a kind of economic loss, of course. Yeah. And one thing, regarding the day temperature, even the city dwellers, they complain. This is there in the month of May. Even you can feel some hot air. Yeah. This is due to the sandbars.
Yes, of course.
Because the sandbar is bare, and so when there is a heat radiation, it enters in the town and it warms the city temperature.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons even.
Okay.
And if you remember the time of the erection of Farakka Barrage, it is 1974. Actually, the mess started since the 1974 because that time the river flow enormously going down. So we have very little amount of water. As a result, you have seen, and you know, this is the very normal theory. When the water, there is no longer the current in the water, then the sediment it settled down. So as a result, you have seen the bed, all the sediments is settled down on the river bed, and since then we don't have any excavation process, that is dredging, no dredging.
Yeah.
As a result, the river bed is also going up and up, and as a result, you see the all is silted and die up.
Okay, but the people anyway, they come still here to
Yes,
enjoy their
yes,
leisure
yes.
time.
The old people like me, they came here to remember, to recall the memory, and the little boys and the others, they came here to have some fun.
Professor Sattar and his colleagues are not deterred by the problems caused by drought and climate change. Instead of sitting and complaining about the lost good old times, they are tackling the problem head-on by working hand in hand with the stakeholders at grassroots level and developing practical solutions.
Forget about the climate change in the upper level and the discussion level. It is now better to think about the field level, just to think about the stakeholder, just to think about the main proponent of the economy, who are the farmer. We have to think about them. And yes, what I have seen from my experience while working in the field, I have seen that they have some sort of their own adaptation. And actually this sort of adaptation is very amazing. And in fact, if you say it in other way, they are doing what just you say, they are learning by doing. So they have so many options, and they are really going for adaptation. When they face any problem, they just adapt accordingly. As for example, you know, that area, the dryland area, previously there was a different type of cropping system and the rice system as well. But nowadays they have changed because our farmers, they are now adapted the more high yielding variety rice, which can survive even in the dry climate. Okay, and if there is no rainfall, even it will be not so bigger problem for the harvesting season. So there are some sort of, I have found real adaptation in the grassroots level. That is the agriculturist, the farmer, and the labor. They are actually doing all this sort of adaptation, and it's very interesting.
Rice is the main crop and staple food in Bangladesh. Since generations, the farmers have been very carefully using the water available in the dry season. Traditional reservoirs are a significant and lively element of community life and used not only by rural communities but also in urban areas. The ponds still exist where the pressure on land use is not very high. However, Bangladesh being the most densely populated country in the world, these ponds tend to disappear in urban areas. The area gets used for housing or business development. Not only that water for domestic purposes, like washing and other activities, now has to be carried home from nearby wells or pumped from groundwater. This has reduced the recharge of groundwater in the area and resulted in a tremendous decline of the groundwater table, which is already being threatened by an increasing demand for fresh water from a growing urban population. As of now, the number of ponds in the city of Rajshahi has already decreased significantly. Together with local authorities, Professor Sattar is giving a good fight to save the remaining ponds.
Little step.
So we are at one of these ponds now, huh?
All right, yeah. And this is very historical pond of the region, you know. And I learned from my father that this bigger pond was excavated more than 200 years back by some Hindu jamindars. And you know, that time that this pond was the main source of household work, especially for washing, for bathing. Even I learned swimming in this pond.
And is there also the function of flood retention, or as a retention basin for during the flood?
Right. Even not only the flood retention, there is also the retention of the rainwater as well.
Yeah.
So this pond has significant importance of the overall microecology of the region.
Yeah. Well, and is there a strategy of the city now to protect these ponds?
Yes, nowadays our city has taken some action, but we already made late, you know. Very recently, during the year 2008, our government, they passed a legislation regarding the choking of the pond. So nowadays, nobody can choke the pond, and the pond should remain as a pond. It cannot be converted to a agricultural land or a business land or for the settlement. But still some people, they are try to do against the law. But nowadays our city mayor and the city and the people, they are concerning for looking after the matter, they are serious. Now we try to protect the remnants of the ponds we do have now. This is very important for us.
In a water-scarce region, the principle of sharing water resources, both groundwater and surface water, holds strong even on a greater scale. For this purpose, water is pumped through a pumping station from the river Padma and transported via pipeline several kilometers into the land for the irrigation of rice fields.